It had been a long time since I last spoke to her. Life gets busy, doesn't it? But one day, I finally picked up the phone and called. Her voice was the same. Warm, familiar. Like no time had passed at all. We talked for hours about family, about life, about everything. Then she said something that made me stop and think. You know, she said, I owe everything in my life to Jesus. My family, my happiness, everything. I smiled, because I've always known she had deep faith. But something about the way she said it made me curious. So I asked her, but what about others? So many people pray, they devote their lives to faith. But not everyone has the same kind of success. Why? She didn't hesitate. Because it's not just about praying, she said. It's about believing, truly, deeply, without doubt. In every thought. In every action. Then she told me something else. Something even more interesting. She said, every day, I make a conscious effort to live that belief. I try to be ethical. I never tell even a small lie. I trust that what's meant for me will come. And so it always does. I hung up that day, still thinking about her words. Was it just faith? Or was there something deeper going on? That's when I started thinking about quantum fields, about neurology, about how belief itself might be shaping reality. Maybe she wasn't just lucky. Maybe she was tuned in. The more I thought about it, the more I realized. She wasn't just hoping for good things. She was living in a state of certainty. As if she already knew how things would unfold. That's when I remembered something fascinating from quantum physics. There's a phenomenon called the observer effect. Scientists have discovered that the very act of observing a particle changes its behavior. It's as if reality itself responds to awareness. Now think about that. If something as tiny as a subatomic particle reacts to observation, what about our lives? Our choices? Our beliefs? My friend didn't just believe in success. She expected it. She lived in alignment with that belief, and in doing so, she became an active participant in her reality. It's like a radio signal. You don't receive what you're not tuned into. You could say, I want happiness, I want success. But if deep down, your subconscious is tuned into doubt, fear, scarcity, that's what you receive. And that's why affirmations don't work. Not by themselves. You can repeat them 100 times. But unless you believe them, unless you act on them, unless you align yourself with that frequency, they're just words. Think about someone who wants to be a doctor. They don't just chant, I am a doctor. They study. They practice. They immerse themselves in that reality. Long before they ever receive the title. That's the difference. It's not just belief. It's embodied belief. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. Science tells us that our brains are constantly rewiring. Every thought, every belief, every experience strengthens certain neural pathways. The more my friend focused on gratitude, on ethical living, on unwavering faith, the stronger those pathways became. Her brain was literally wired for positive outcomes. This is where neuroscience meets spirituality. Her prayers? Her conscious effort to live truthfully? They weren't just religious practices. They were rewiring her brain to expect, recognize, and create opportunities for success. Two people can be in the same situation, but see it completely differently. One sees failure. The other sees opportunity. And whichever one you believe, that's the one you act on. It's not magic. It's not luck. It's neurology. It's physics. It's tuning yourself to a reality you are. Everything around us starts with an intention, a blueprint, a design. Take a simple material, plastic. In the same factory, using the same machines, we can create a beautifully crafted perfume bottle or a garbage bin. No one has to tell people where to put trash. Without intervention, waste naturally goes into the garbage bin. Because of its shape, its design, the way it invites a specific use. The perfume bottle, on the other hand, is treated differently. It holds something precious. It carries fragrance, elegance, and value. Both are made from the same raw material, but their purpose, determined at the moment of creation, defines their entire experience in the world. Now think about this in terms of your mind, your belief system, the way you see yourself. Are you shaping your thoughts like the garbage bin, expecting to collect what is thrown at you? Or are you designing your mind like the perfume bottle, ready to hold something meaningful, valuable? Because without intention, the world will decide for you. Just like people naturally put trash in a bin, without conscious design, you will collect whatever the world throws your way. Here's another example. Imagine drawing a stunning 3D staircase on a piece of paper. It looks real. Every line, every shadow, perfectly designed to trick the eye into believing it has depth. But if you spill water on that paper, nothing happens. The water doesn't flow down the steps, because the depth isn't real. There's no actual slope, no real structure for gravity to act on. The same happens when people only think about success but don't take action. If your belief is only an illusion, a drawing with no real foundation, then life cannot interact with it. But when you build something real, when you combine belief with action, the universe responds. The water flows. The reality shifts. Things start moving in your direction. Hope is like a seed. It carries the potential for a tree, a forest, an entire ecosystem. But a seed alone isn't enough. You can hold on to it for years, wishing it would grow, but without soil, water, and sunlight, it remains just a seed. Belief is the seed. Effort is the soil. Action is the water. And persistence is the sunlight that brings it all to life. Some people hope, but never plant the seed. Some people plant it, but don't water it with effort. Some people water it, but give up before the roots take hold. The ones who see results, they do all of it. They believe, they act, they wait, and then they reap the harvest. I know someone who lost his job. It wasn't expected. It wasn't easy. But instead of just waiting for the next opportunity, he did something different. He started a small vending machine business. It had nothing to do with his education or past experience, but it was his responsibility. His effort. His results. He worked on holidays. Late nights. Not because he had to, but because he wanted to. Because when something is yours, when you own the outcome, the work feels different. And then, just as his business started to take shape, he found a great job. A better opportunity. He took it, but he never regretted the time he spent stocking that vending machine. Later in life, he faced another tough situation at work. Instead of feeling trapped, instead of letting frustration take over, he made another move. He bought an old house. A project. Something he could renovate and rent out. His goal? If it became successful, maybe he could quit his job and expand into real estate. But before that could happen, something else did. He got a better job offer. So instead of quitting, he hired someone to finish the renovations and moved on to his next opportunity. Here's what's interesting. If he had worked as a laborer for someone else, doing the same physical tasks, he might have felt frustrated, drained, or stuck. But because he saw this work as a stepping stone, because he was the one in control, the work felt different. It wasn't an obligation. It was a tool. Most people feel stress at work not because of the job itself, but because they feel trapped. But what if we could shift our mindset? What if instead of seeing it as something we have to do, we saw it as something we choose to do, even for a short time? A tool. A stepping stone. The same work can feel like a burden, or like an investment. The difference is in how we frame it. This is where it all ties back to quantum energy, belief, and effort. The vending machine, the old house. Neither were the end goals. But because he put energy into them, because he saw them as part of his journey, the universe responded. He wasn't angry. He wasn't resentful. He kept moving. And every time he did, another door opened. The way we approach work, even temporary struggles, creates an energy field around us. If we resent it, resist it, fight it, we get stuck. But if we accept it, work with it, use it as a stepping stone, things shift. The question isn't whether we have control. The question is how we choose to see the work in front of us. Because sometimes, the work itself isn't the real challenge. Our perspective is. But there's one more thing. Something I couldn't stop thinking about after that call. If everything in the universe is connected, then doesn't our energy influence more than just ourselves? In quantum physics, there's a concept called entanglement. When two particles interact, they become linked. No matter how far apart they are, changing one instantly changes the other. This suggests that things that have once been connected remain in communication, even across vast distances. Now, imagine this in daily life. When someone enters a room with a strong presence, whether positive or negative, others feel it. Just like entangled particles react to each other's changes, human energy fields interact, subtly influencing emotions, thoughts, and decisions. For example, my friend's deep belief in her faith didn't just impact her. It influenced her husband, her children, and even those around her. When she maintained her strong ethical standards and unwavering faith, it created an invisible ripple effect, shaping the way others in her family approached life. Her belief became a stabilizing force, much like an entangled system where energy transfers instantaneously. This is why her life unfolded the way it did. Not just because she prayed, not just because she believed, but because she lived that belief. Maintaining consistency in action, reinforcing her faith daily, and unknowingly setting an energetic field that influenced those closest to her. Quantum entanglement suggests that what we focus on doesn't just stay within us. It extends outward, connecting us to the people and experiences around us. This means that our thoughts, emotions, and intentions don't just affect our personal reality. They shape the reality of others as well. Does it mean prayers have no actual benefit? Is it a placebo? Then how do we explain this? Across every culture, in every faith, people pray, chant, meditate, and they always have. But why? What is happening? Beyond tradition and ritual, everything in the universe operates on frequencies, including us. Our thoughts, emotions, even our brainwaves function like a signal, constantly broadcasting. Prayer and chanting are ways to tune that signal, to shift from a chaotic, scattered state into one of clarity and focus. Think of a radio station. If you're not tuned in properly, all you get is static. But once you find the right frequency, everything becomes clear. Science backs this up. Studies on meditation and prayer show that they shift brainwaves into alpha and theta states, the same states linked to deep intuition, creativity, and healing. This is why prayer isn't just about asking. It's about aligning. When my friend prays, she's not just saying words. She's tuning herself into the energy of faith, gratitude, and certainty. Chanting is another fascinating piece of this puzzle. Across cultures, Buddhist mantras, Hindu japas, Christian rosaries, repetition is key. But why? Why do repeated words or sounds have such a profound effect? Repetition reprograms the subconscious mind. The more you repeat a phrase, the more your brain accepts it as reality. Neural pathways are strengthened, reinforcing the belief at the deepest level. Chanting also influences the vagus nerve, a critical nerve that connects the brain, heart, and gut. When stimulated, it calms the nervous system, reduces stress, and creates a sense of inner peace. This is why people feel a sense of calm, clarity, and even transformation when they pray or chant. It's not just about faith. It's about physiology. But here's the big question. Can prayer actually change reality? Science suggests maybe. Experiments have shown that focused thought and intention can alter physical reality. Water molecules shift into beautiful patterns when exposed to loving words. Plants grow differently when spoken to with kindness. If this is true for water, for plants, what about us? There have even been large-scale studies on collective prayer. In some cases, cities with high crime rates saw a measurable drop when large groups meditated or prayed with a shared intention. Does this mean prayer is some kind of magic? Not necessarily. But it does suggest that consciousness, especially when focused and collective, has an effect on reality. Maybe that's why my friend's life unfolded the way it did. Not because she just hoped for things, but because she lived in alignment with them. And maybe that's why prayer works. So the question is, what are you aligning yourself with? Is your mind tuned into fear, doubt? Or are you setting your frequency to faith, certainty, and action? Because whether we call it prayer, belief, or focus, the truth is, We are not passive observers in this universe. We are active participants.